So the Sam Darnold trade news has brought up a couple of new opinions and questions that I have for this draft. And being a Denver Broncos fan, I watched Drew Lock, and I'm not generally a fan of giving up on quarterbacks less than 3 or 4 years into their career. But Drew Lock has just been way too inconsistent over the last 2 years. I hope he can pan out, and I hope he can figure something out if we don't end up drafting a quarterback in this draft. But every now and again, there comes along one of these draft classes. This is the most recent example. 2021 or 2018, is one of those examples where you have just really good quarterbacks in the top 10. Like I said about not giving up on quarterbacks 3 years into their career. I was not a fan of Sam Darnold getting out in New York this year, but a guy like Zach Wilson is too hard to pass up on, especially when he is better than your quarterback now. And that has been my opinion a lot on how Locke is versus a guy like a Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Mac Jones. But looking at this new deal that kind of takes the Panthers off the quarterback market, potentially, if they have a guy in mind at 8 that they like over a Justin Fields or Trey Lance, you could find both of these guys being available at 9 for the Broncos. And I think it's important to look at both of these guys and figure out who we like. So it's a very specific type of scenario that we need. So we need Lawrence at 1 of the Jaguars, Wilson at 2. Those are self-explanatory. Then for the 49ers, we need them to take Mac Jones. Moving forward to 4, the Falcons need to take Kyle Pitts or a defensive player. Then we need to find Jamar Chase at 5 to the Bengals. We need to find Devontae Smith at 6 to the Dolphins. We need to find Jalen Waddle at 7 to the Lions so they don't trade out of that pick for a potential guy that needs a quarterback. Then at 8, the Panthers do not need to feel confident enough, or they need to feel confident enough in Sam Darnold to be able to feel that he's the guy for them and not draft a quarterback. More opting for like a Rashawn Slater or Penei Sewell or a defensive player, which leaves us here at the number 9 pick with 2 quarterbacks, Trey Lance and then Justin Fields. And I'm here to determine who I like better and who I feel like would be a better player for the Broncos long term. So let's get into Trey Lance. This play is a touchdown to bootleg, and North Dakota State love to run these bootlegs. We'll just play it here. Big arm throw, finds this guy wide open, really solid touchdown. I like the arm strength off the bat from Trey Lance. His size and his ability to find these plays, I really like. He's able to just look up, find his guy, and he has the arm to get the ball downfield right there. Decent-ish mechanics. I wish he would be a little bit more consistent and drive that ball on the follow-through. He kind of just let it go. I mean, it doesn't matter because it's a touchdown, but my big theory with Trey Lance is if you improve his mechanics, you're going to improve his accuracy. So this was a not bad mechanics throw. It's hard to see his footwork here, where his foot was planted towards, but it seems like it was planted in a pretty solid place, and that's where it ended up. We all know that when you plant your foot right here, it kind of is either moving this way or this way, and that's kind of where the ball ends up going, right between this hash and then the logo. Lance, throwing motion is okay. I'd like it to be a little bit higher, but the fall through, I'd like him to drive it a little bit better. But still, nonetheless, the arm and the accuracy there, I really like, and that's a touchdown. One thing that I think Trey Lance does really well already is his ability to read defenses rather, and make good decisions based on what he sees. Let's check this play out here. He's going to bring this guy into motion. He's looking at the coverage. This guy's not open. This guy's not open because he has this guy here. This is a risky throw to make because you're in the middle of a window right here that could get closed pretty quickly if this safety comes across. He recognizes that, and he's going to take his check down. I really like that. He knows his check down is there, and they're able to get upfield because he's open. Trey Lance makes a safe decision here. A lot of quarterbacks probably wouldn't make this type of decision. They'd rather play hero ball and be a big player, but that could lead to an interception. Trey Lance is a very safe player. He knows what he's doing. He goes through his progressions here. Looks like it's going to end up being cover 3 because this guy's bailing, and we have 2 guys up top here with 1, 2, 3, 4-ish line. It could be cover 4, so we could have this guy coming out here, this guy staying here, and this guy in the flat. Either way, Trey Lance is reading the coverage, recognizes where it's going. And as we see this play develop, let's watch this guy's route. We'll see it happen. He kind of comes up in the middle of this route, and he's in the middle of this window right here as well as this guy right here. If Trey Lance threw that, that's a higher risk of getting intercepted than, say, this pass right here, which is just a basic check down to his running back right here. I like that. I like that he's making safe decisions, and that advances the offense pretty well. However, with this very same play as I'm reviewing it in this cartel view, we see the deficiencies with his mechanics, right? And we're going to watch this right here. I just want you to watch his left foot. You see how he kind of plants and is ready to throw to one place, but he doesn't reset and plant the other way. That's kind of not a great habit to get into. We're going to see him plant right here. His foot's kind of either facing this way or that way. It's hard to tell off this view. And then at the very last minute, it definitely facing this view. So he's trying to get it into this window right here where number 11 is going to be, right? You see him plant his foot. It's going this way to see if he can try and get it to number 11, who should be right around here, right over this linebacker. Instead, he decides that's not a great decision because of the coverage around it, and is going to hit the check down right here without really moving his foot much. It kind of moves this way. That's kind of a dangerous habit to get into, and it ends up kind of disrupting this pass with this running back here, or the motion man, I guess, and it just isn't a great habit to get into. I'd like to see that improve, and that's what I talk about when his mechanics aren't great, and we'll get into more examples of that later, but that's just one example right there. Continuing off the mechanics narrative, this is a play that kind of exemplifies how his mechanics affect his accuracy. Let's check this out. He's going to get pressure up the middle, kind of late to recognize it, but can still use his legs and get out. That's another added positive to Trey Lance, is he can use his legs. But as he gets out here, watch how he makes the throw with, there's no feet on the ground. He sets up and makes the throw while he's not grounded. And his ball is naturally going to go up and out of reach for that tight end who's wide open. Instead, if he can reset and plant, he has enough time to throw this football. If he can plant and reset before he ends up getting out, and this is another thing we'll get into, but his right foot's forward instead of his left foot. It's kind of a messy. Throwing on the run is a difficult thing, and it's difficult art to get down and evaluate, but this play definitely is not where you want to be when you're basically jumping. And the fact that he has the arm strength to make this throw is actually pretty crazy, but I'd like to see better mechanics. And additionally, when you see the body torque is nice right here, but you watch how his arm is with this arrow. He's going down. It's dipping down. I don't like when quarterbacks' throwing motions go dipping down, and we see that with Justin Fields, and we'll get into that later. But this play in specific kind of showcases Lance's mechanics, and if he kind of bases that and makes a little bit better of a throw, that could be a touchdown very easily because this guy's behind him. So basic little things like that are going to make Trey Lance a better player, and he's just going to have to learn that on the way. This is the exact opposite of what I was talking about earlier. This is a play where he does really well when he's on the run. And granted, it's a bootleg and he resets and makes the throw, but let's watch it. First off, under center, he already knows how to play in the pro style because North Dakota State runs it. That's a great plus. He's going to run on a bootleg. So resets, gets his feet. I don't love where his footwork is placed. It's kind of moving this way, but he's able to torque his upper body and make this throw, cross his body to that wide open tight end for the touchdown. I like that play a lot. I like that he is, number one, reading. He knows his second options this way. So number one, he's going to roll out, read the field this way, and then knows his second options right there, turns around and is able to make that throw. Again, the mechanics could be improved. This footwork's a little bit sloppy, but as a whole, the really good throw, really accurate throw, and that's a touchdown right there. You can't debate it. And if you want a really good example of arm strength, right here, he's thrown from his own 25 to the opponent's 25 really well as well. And there's some mechanical deficiencies as well. He kind of is leaning back when he throws it, and his feet are a little bit too wide. But still, the arm strength here, the great show of it, I really like that. And his arm is so great. Right, and then on the other side of the debate, you have Justin Fields. An interesting quarterback. He's my personal quarterback 3, but I'd honestly like Lance over Fields at the moment because of Lance's potential, and we'll get into that later as we watch Justin Fields here in the national championship. First off, let's check this play out. The poise and the accuracy is what I like to watch. He does make, to his credit, because it will be brought up later on in the video, he does look around a little bit and has some field vision here. But let's get into the better parts of the play. Poise, right? There's a lot of, this guy's about to go hit him. And then you have the pocket is collapsing around him. Justin Fields stays poised. He keeps his eyes downfield at his target and is able to make a really good throw down here. beautiful anticipation on that, throws him open, and is able to get him into a spot. That ball placement right there is perfect. Really good play from Justin Fields. Showcases his poise and accuracy right there. Now, like I said in the last clip, Justin Fields, the field vision, and this is a prime example of it. He stares down his first read, and it makes me so mad because I hate it when quarterbacks do that. It makes it so easy for the defense to read and predict where it's going and stop it pretty quickly. Here, watch Justin Fields' helmet compared to the receiver that you're going to see come in and run this route. He is literally moving his body to mirror these two tight ends, and this tight end, this receiver. But we notice this tight end is going to keep running this way. He stops his body and keeps his helmet fixated on this guy who's wide open. And granted, he is wide open, but that's just because the way the coverage is. Justin Fields, if he was, I really appreciate if he kind of looked here, kind of followed that guy a little bit, and then settled on this open man, because nobody notices him until this safety, I guess, kind of finds his eyes and then finds where the ball's going, and as well as the safety from the other side that's able to get there. Watch this safety's eyes, or watch where this safety's positioning is compared to where Justin Fields' eyes are going. Once he gets into the frame, watch him versus watch where Justin Fields is going. He picks up on it pretty quickly. He's already starting to move inside to see where Justin Fields is going, and he's a little slow to the read, but he is unsure of it and then finds it. But still, he follows the natural progression of Justin Fields' eyes, which puts him in the position to make this play. I'd like to see a little bit better from there. Now, again, we see positives and negatives in Justin Fields' play here. Again, the ball placement is tremendous, and if it weren't for a wide receiver's drop, this would be a really good touchdown play that we see from Justin Fields. But however, watch his helmet and where it's going. It locks onto this guy who's going to be running in, up, and then out to the corner of the end zone. His helmet doesn't move the whole time. It's literally just sitting there. It finds his read. Really good ball placement, puts it right where it needs to be, and the receiver does a good job of finding a way to get off of this cornerback, who ends up, I think that's a pass interference penalty that ends up happening, but again, Fields watches it the whole time, not great, but the ball placement is really good, and mechanics were pretty solid despite his throwing motion. I don't love how long his throwing motion takes, because he starts like right there, rips it out and then up. It's kind of like an RC race. He rips it out and then up and then gets it over the top. I'd like that to be a little bit more condensed and quick or sped up, which would make it a lot easier for his mechanics to flow. Now, this play is really cool because it shows off Justin Fields' accuracy and arm strength. I think this is number 5, Garrett Wilson. He's just going to kind of run up and then kind of delay his route right around here and then get out of it. He doesn't really even have to adjust the football because it's right there for him. Right, he moves inside. I don't know if he's getting physically jammed, this is an actual issue, or this is part of the design route, because he kind of sits there for a second and then comes off the ball, and the ball's perfect, right? I don't know whether that was designed or whether that was an actual error in the game that he just overcame. Either way, Justin Fields does a great job of getting the ball from the right hash to the left side of the end zone. That's a really big throw to make, and he does so with relative ease, and gets it up there for where only number 5 Garrett Wilson can get it. Loves how number 5 attacks the football, but again, right there, perfect ball placement. I really like this play, again, because it showcases his arm strength, which some people have questions about. I necessarily don't. I like his arm strength a lot and the accuracy. This ending play is a perfect example of my fear with Justin Fields and his processing. We know he's accurate, we know he has the mobility, and we know he has the arm strength, but this is a really interesting way, and this could honestly happen in any offense. I'm not saying it's isolated to the Ohio State offense, but the fact that he locks in on his primary read so much shows me that there's a lot of designed plays in the Ohio State offense, and they don't give him a lot of ability to go off leash and make off-script plays like Zach Wilson would or Trevor Lawrence would. This play is a perfect example. Instead of watching Justin Fields out, let's watch the coverage and let's watch where the receivers are going. It looks like a deep cover 2 here. Let's see where because we're lined up in a basic 3 deep look right here because it's the end of the game. But what one of these safeties does is they bail inside to the inside, kind of the mid level of the field, and that counters his trips really well. And we'll see that in a second. So the guy in the middle kind of comes down and counters his trips here. where to the point where he's in the middle of these guys, he can make a play on either, preferably this one because this safety is or this DB of some kind has come down on this guy and he slips, but has come down and covered there. We have deep blanket. We have two guys right here. This guy has coverage over here, and this guy has coverage over here. It puts Justin Fields in a pretty bad situation, and the pressure doesn't help, but he ends up getting sacked here because the defense figures out where he's going and is able to stop it pre-snap, which stops him from making a big play. And that's the big concern that I have with Justin Fields ultimately, is that if he isn't able to look around, if even just let's say it's a not this play and it's just a one-on-one with this guy and he runs a slant and he comes down and crashes on it and has him open on this like right here, Justin Fields isn't going to be able to process that and find maybe like his check down that's open, or this guy who's ran a hitch and found his way open. That's what I worry about with Justin Fields early on in his career. And as we get into like careers and stuff, and I'll discuss this in a minute with the conclusion, but young quarterbacks are so delicate in the NFL because if you see one thing that they do wrong, it could mess them up for the. Look at Deshaun Kaiser. He wasn't put in a good situation in Cleveland, but that situation ruined him. Look at Sam Darnold. That situation has drastically changed the course of his career because of how they put him in there and threw him into the fire. Tons of young quarterbacks have that, and they're so delicate. And if you do that, and a couple bad games could really destroy their confidence, which is why I'd rather see Justin Fields be able to develop and being put in a place to set up to succeed rather than fail. Right, so when we look at these two quarterbacks, especially for the Broncos, it's an interesting, or even for the 49ers or something like that, it's an interesting conversation because on the one hand, you have Trey Lance, who's so mechanically inconsistent, but if you fix those mechanics, he's going to be crazy. His abilities, he can honestly start day one and just learn and have some hard experiences, but he could come out and learn really well. Despite that, young quarterbacks being delicate, the fact that his mental game is pretty up to par doesn't worry me as much as a guy like Justin Fields. Justin Fields is more pro-ready than Trey Lance, and if he came out and started, well, I don't know, because Justin Fields at the same time, while he has those tools, I think Justin Fields is a better tools guy than Trey Lance, but Trey Lance is a better player right out the gate, I think, than Justin Fields, just because Trey Lance is more used to a pro-style offense and the ability to be able to make these plays. Fields, on the other hand, good tools guy. He has the accuracy, he has the ball placement, and the arm strength, and the mechanics, and all that. The mobility. Both these guys have good mobility. I didn't highlight it much in this film session because both of these guys do have that, and that's not on top of what the quarterbacks. What we need, what we're looking for in a quarterback, more as a passer. We both know they're good runners. That's not as important, but Justin Fields scares me because, like I said, quarterbacks are so delicate, and more mentally, if you have a game or two that rattles a quarterback, it could be devastating. And if you set him up in a position to fail because he's not all the way developed or hasn't learned all the way the techniques or the offense that you want him to learn, he could be for some trouble. And that's what I ultimately see with Justin Fields. If he goes to the Broncos, I don't love his chances because he's probably going to get thrown in the fire pretty quick if we get rid of Drew Lock. And that could result in him getting ruined and end up being a bust, just like any other young quarterback that the Broncos have had recently. And that's really not the goal here. The goal is to find our franchise guy. So if I were to put down a payment on a quarterback this year, I definitely want it to be Trey Lance over Justin Fields. I like Justin. He's still my quarterback 3 just because he's a better tools guy and he has it more together. But Trey Lance can be something great. And I'm looking long-term rather than short-term. And I think Trey Lance has that long-term potential that you like. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. This is 4 of the 5 quarterbacks. I don't know if we're going to do Trevor Lawrence because he's kind of a sure thing. I don't know if I want to really break him down. So we might get into that. There's going to be more film sessions coming before the draft. But again, appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tell me your opinion on who do you think is better, Trey Lance or Justin Fields. But I'll see you guys in the next one, and peace out.